Good evening and welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast hosted by the Empowering Perspective community. We are your hosts for this evening's discussion. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I am joined tonight with me. I am joined tonight with my brothers. First up top with me, we have Mr. Roland Walker, also known as a poor man's Dr. Phil. Oh, Panama Jack, also known as the man of many hats. And below us, we have Mr. Garfield Martin, also the Uncle Junior himself, who also goes by the consistency coach. And beside him, you have our brother, Mr. Chris McClellan, from across the table with Chris McClellan, also known as the angry guy that is still learning. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
I am well.
Same. Well, doing well.
Chilling.
Chilling. Cat about to go on a safari, just so y'all know.
I like it.
I know, right? Yeah, absolutely. And also with us, as always, our illustrious panel. We always look forward to seeing you guys every Friday night because you are just awesome and you are one of the reasons that make these conversations pop. Right? That's my word for the day, pop. Right. So with that being said, I want to make sure I acknowledge you. So welcome to the show, Cassandra McKenzie, Crystal Everett, Nick D. Always good to see you. Michelle Ray, Lisa Keys, and as always, Bernadette Simmons. And for those of you who have not gotten in the chat so far today, that's okay. Jump in the chat. Let us know you're here. We want to kind of, give you your flowers and let you know that we appreciate you because that's what we do on this channel. Also, if this is your first time joining us, look in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. There's a little icon there. Go ahead and put your cursor over top of it. It's going to be a pop out. Go ahead and subscribe and go ahead and hit the notification button. That way, you know that when we go live, every time we go live, because we always look forward to seeing you guys. Good evening, Miss Teresa Austin. Welcome to the show. So that being said, if you guys were with us last week, one of the things you realized that we had a very interesting conversation about boundaries. So there is no need to change it up. We're going to just roll right into it because we did not get a chance to finish. And so, as always, I like to start off with the problem. Now, just think about it because we did last week and we're going to think about it again this week, right? Think about it. You just meet a person, you enjoy being with that person, you guys spend a lot of time together, and you just get to the point to where you think about that person day and night. Think about being around that person, what that person is doing, what time they went to sleep, what time they wake up, what they eat for dinner, what they eat for lunch, all of these great and wonderful things, right? Because you don't like being without that person, but you forgot to have the conversation. And that conversation was all about some of the things that kind of make the relationship thrive. And these things are boundaries. So just imagine, right? And I don't know, it could be just as simple as, I don't know, just leaving something out on the table that was supposed to go back in the refrigerator, or leaving the toilet seat up. I know a lot of guys can relate to that, right? So all of these things can equate to boundaries. And that's what we were talking about. And this is the main reason why we created the Empowering Perspective membership program, because in the Empowering Perspective membership program, we actually teach a lot of these conversations that need to be that needs to happen so that you can have a fruitful relationship, move forward, and learn how to live and exist together in harmony. So, diving into this conversation, I believe that we need to have a new scenario because I think that we kind of beat the old scenario up. So we're gonna start off with a new one. So this particular scenario has to do with our good friend Ethan and Sophia. So Ethan and Sophia, they're a couple who've been together for 5 years, and they're facing a new challenge in their relationship. While they have navigated many ups and downs together, a recent situation has led them to uncharted territories, boundaries in their digital lives. Ethan, who is usually very private, discovered that Sophia had been reading his text messages without his permission. Simultaneously, Sophia found that Ethan had been sharing details of their personal life on social media, which she felt crossed the line. Both felt a betrayal of trust, but were unaware of each other's actions. So I'm just going to throw that out there and let you guys comment, man. What are your thoughts based upon this situation between Sophia and Ethan? Man, look at Chris' face.
These two people do not need to be together. Why? First off, one, why are you going through my phone? And two, why are you sharing stuff on social media that ain't everybody's business? Like, and why are you keeping it from me? It's they do not need to be together, man. They just
All
don't.
right. So
I'm gonna disagree. I'm not saying I am not going to say that they do not need to be together. Like Coach said, and well, not Coach said, in this scenario, they hadn't had the conversation. They hadn't talked about it. So since they hadn't talked about it, this is something that is totally new. So they got to sit down and they got to hash this stuff out. He has to figure out, they both have to figure out what is acceptable in this relationship when it comes to our text messages and what's acceptable when it comes to displaying certain information about our relationship on the social media. They need to have a conversation. So that's where I'm gonna start at right there. There needs to be a conversation. Hold on, you muted. Go ahead, I want to hear it.
I think they should have been had that conversation.
But in the scenario, they didn't. You're
Right,
right.
right, right.
I agree. They should have had it.
So, but now I think there's a mistrust. I'm a person where I feel ain't nobody calling my phone for you. So if you pick it up and see whatever and you get what you get. Now we can talk about it, but I also think that there should be a level of respect to where personal business stays personal. I don't think that, but you wouldn't have known that if you weren't on my phone. So looking through my text messages and all that, that's a mistrust thing. So that's an insecurity, not in me, in the person that's checking. So now we have to have a conversation because if I'm thinking I'm cool saying what I'm saying, as long as it's not business, then I'm thinking it's cool. But at the end of the day, why are you in my phone in the first place?
These two people should not be together. They are doing things behind each other's backs. No, and you've been together for this long and you're still doing things behind each other's backs. You posting on social. First of all, why are you, if you two are together, why are you two not friends on social media? Why can't she see what you are doing? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't date you if I couldn't be your friend on social media. And I don't have any, and I do not have anything to hide. You understand what I'm saying? Two, what about what thing went off in the back of your head that made you think it was okay to go through my phone? You understand what I'm saying? And do it behind my back instead of saying, hey, sweetie, can I see your phone since we've been together for this long? You understand what I'm saying? No. They just do, because this can turn into something really, 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 really big. You know what I'm saying? Something this small. And it's still, they're doing it behind each other's backs. Like, I just do not get it. If I'm with you for this long, I am not going to do anything behind your back. I'm going to show you. And if you go, and I've actually had this conversation. Quick story. I was dating somebody. I used to work I used to work for Sprint before they got bought out by T-Mobile. I used to be a sales rep. Then I was a tech. Then I went back to a sales rep. I was dating somebody, and I said, sweetheart, if you want to see my phone, here. All you have to do is ask. I do not have anything to hide. But if you go through my phone and I figure out you went through my phone, I'm gonna cheat on you. I'm gonna tell you I cheated on you, and then I'm gonna leave you because you went through my phone and without my permission when you didn't have to. She went through my phone and I found out, and I went out with somebody that night, told her I went out with somebody that night, and then I dumped her because you went through my phone and you did not have to. You understand what I'm saying? It's a respect thing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, absolutely not. And to be real, it wasn't a tit for tat back and forth thing. It was this is what it is. These are the consequences to what's going to happen. It was cause and effect. You understand what I'm saying? You went through my phone. That was the cause. The effect was me treating somebody the same way I treated you and then dumping you because you disrespected me when you did not have to. Something that small can be that big. No, absolutely not. Take the L.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. So I want to kind of like, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, there's another perspective that somebody is thinking right now and they hadn't said it yet. Not necessarily on the panel, right? But there's another idea. So if we're in a relationship, right? Why can't I touch your phone? Like, why is it such a big secret for me to look at your phone or pick up your phone and answer it, or check, whatever? Just why is that such a big deal? If we're in a committed relationship, you ain't got nothing to hide. Your thoughts?
I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the behind the back part, because it's
Just
like
don't do it behind my back.
you calling me a liar. You
What
calling
what
me.
is what is considered behind the back? All right,
It ain't in my face. You go to the bathroom, you own my stuff, just swiping. Like, oh,
if
you
they
like
can
her
go through your
picture?
phone anyway, is it, if they have access to your phone at any time, is it ever really going behind the back? If I can go through your phone at any time,
You
if you're in the
know when
shower
you doing
and
something.
I'm not taking a shower, I'm sitting there watching the TV and I grab your phone, am I really going behind your back, or is that? And I'm
Are
just
you
speaking
going
to
through
it.
it? Are you
I'm just
going
speaking
through
to
it
it, not
to
me.
find something? Are you going through it
So
knowing
the
that
intent,
I'm not right there? Yes.
the
You're
intent,
going through my phone looking for something.
looking for something. Is
You
it
understand what
you
I'm
think
saying?
curiosity can, like, say for instance, like your girl, like she's going through your phone or picked it up for whatever reason. I don't know. You say, hey, go in there and check something on my phone, and she pull it up and there's, I don't know, a female's name, and she's like, who is, I ain't never heard of Becky. You know what I mean? No, Karen. Let's use Karen. I ain't never heard of Karen, right?
Why couldn't be
You can snapshot
Tamika?
somebody.
Just saying.
Who you
Tamika.
talking?
Let's do
Because
Tamika. All right. So you pick up and Tamika's in there. And she like, okay, Tamika going through and she sees some messages that she don't really understand. Hey, what you doing with this phone? Blah, 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 blah. So you
But
think that
see,
that curiosity, because she saw an unfamiliar name, can cause someone to dig deeper?
the very beginning of that scenario sparked the whole thing. You said, can I do this? Or, sweetheart, do this. That is me giving you access to my phone. That is not my phone sitting on the coffee table and you just deciding to scroll through it, looking for something, trying to find something. You understand what I'm saying? It's the
Mhm.
intent that matters. And
I
if you
agree
are
with the
going through my
intent.
phone looking for something and you see something out of the ordinary, I don't mind you. I do not mind you asking me. But the first question out of my mouth is, what are you doing going through my phone without asking me? You understand what I'm saying? Why would you do that?
yeah, because we all know, whether it's male or female, every morning you get up. If your wife got Facebook friends, and 90% of them are of the Negroid persuasion, somebody
Negroid?
saying, I gotta stay on. We gotta stay good on with the people. Uh, but somebody saying morning beautiful, all that other mess. Okay, morning beautiful. They trying to, like, So somebody's always saying something, especially social media. Somebody's saying something, male or female, in some fashion. So am I going through checking? Oh, who is this dude? Where you know him from? I'm gonna drive myself crazy.
Well, so because I'm hearing some things. Chris, I think it was Chris. You said it's the intent. I think it was both Chris and Uncle Junior. You say it's the intent, but is it really the intent or is it the impact that matters?
I think both. I think the intent is important, and then I think how you react to that is important too. Like Chris said, you can go through my phone or whatever, but if you see something, bring it to my attention. I have no problem letting you know in more detail what the conversation was about. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think that's different than, who is this chick and why you texting her? You know what I mean? So I think the impact and how that person deals with the information that they find is very key as well. So I think it's both.
I would say both, but for a different reason. The intent matters to me because you're going through my phone. Why are you going through my phone? The impact of what you find matters to her. You understand what I'm saying? Because the impact of what happens is going to determine how we have this conversation. All you had to do is say, Chris, can I see your phone? Here. My passcode is such and such. Scroll to your heart's content. You're not going to find anything. Just don't be malicious about it.
What you got, bro? Intent or impact? You muted.
I think it's the intent. Because if your intent is to find something, you're going to find something. I don't care what it is. It could be the smallest thing and you're going to blow it up because you're looking for something. It's not like you just playing, was that Angry Birds or something in my phone. I ain't got no game. That's, my grandkids be in my phone. Like just my granddaughter, that's how I first got on TikTok. She was 5 at the time, 5-year-old granddaughter got my phone, downloaded TikTok, and she on TikTok doing dances and stuff. I'm like, on my phone with you? Like, I don't have that. Then I got a dog on TikTok to follow them. And then now I'm on TikTok.
See, this is going to be one of those times where it's a unanimous disagreement, right? I think it's the other way around. I think it's always the impact. Like, you need to measure your intent, because if you don't measure your intent, the impact of what you do could be astronomical. Don't tell me about your intent once impact happened. I don't care. I don't care what you intended. That's just, that's how I see it. I think when impact happened, it's way too late to start talking about intent. Now, on
That's
the
what
other
I think we're saying the same thing when you
Oh,
say that.
don't you?
No, I think we're saying something different, and that's okay. That's okay. So, like, I'll say it like this: if my intent was good, but I offended you, then the only thing that matters is the impact. Nobody cares about my intent at that point.
But don't at some point we have to circle back around to the intent, especially if the intent was mistrust. Because like if you intentionally went through my phone looking for something, then that meant you had a certain level of mistrust in me. So I do agree the impact is important, but I also think that at some point we're going to have to circle back around to why was you going through the phone in the first place? What caused the mistrust? What are you seeing in me, or what's going on in your life to whereas
Right.
that
So
part you
I
want
get
to
what
go through?
I get what you're saying. I say that's based upon the relationship and the depth and breadth of that relationship as well. Because if, like in their case, they've been together for 5 years, okay, sure. Ideally, at 5 years, you should have the depth and breadth of relationship to where we can have conversation in depth to understand what moved you to want to do this particular thing. But if we just met, I'm not going to exert that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? You trying to go through you trying to figure out the intent. I don't really care about the intent. You figure out your intent, because that's a bridge you got to cross. That's some insecurities that you got. I don't own your insecurities. I don't own the feelings that you have behind your insecurities. But the impact is this. And so at the end of the day, what's not going to happen is that you're not going to move into my space and disturb this thing that's so very important to me, peace. Once you disturb peace, I got to move you at a distance. Now, 5 years, before I move you at a distance, we need to have a conversation so that we can we can figure some things out. If we can't figure some things out, then I move you at a distance. But when you look at the entirety of it, I get the intent. Sure, she was curious, and I'm just saying she because dudes do it too, right? We're not just going to make it about the woman. So they were curious. They wanted to look through the cell phone because they're trying to catch you doing something. So they're suspicious, but their suspicion may not necessarily have anything to do with that person, the other person. So the intent, sure, the intent was in some type of way. Now, I wouldn't even say malicious. It's just them trying to satisfy their insecurity. So the intent wasn't directed at you. It was something that they did to make them feel better about what's going on. Go ahead, Ro.
A couple weeks ago on TikTok, I made a TikTok and people literally got pissed, mad at me, and were in my doggone inbox talking trash and on the thing talking trash because I said something to the fact that, dude, I said, men, if you want to make your lady upset, all you got to do is take your phone and be smiling at it, acting like you having the time of your life, this, that, and the other. And women were in my inbox just going in. What you mean? You going to do? I'm like, yeah, dog, I was joking.
Thank you for proving my point, though.
People taking that serious because if you looking at it like he ain't smiling at you, but he all in his phone, he ha ha ha, and now you're upset. You're upset because you finding an insecurity within yourself and your relationship because you're not making that man smile. Not because he's smiling, not because he's happy. You should want him to be happy. But at the end of the day, you people took offense to that. And I was like, wow, I ain't take it down because it's a joke. If you don't like my jokes, that's like if you don't like Eddie Murphy, go listen to Kevin Hart.
There's probably some truth in that TikTok though.
It is.
Y'all need to stop. All right, so let's kind of jump into some
I
of
said
those
probably.
questions. Let's jump into some of these questions from the chat because we got some pretty good questions. Good evening, Miss Verlene McCoy. Welcome to the show, and good evening, May Bird. Always good to see you. So Michelle Ray has a interesting question up here. How did she get in the space where she felt compelled to go through his phone?
It could have just been curiosity. It could have been
People-
insecurities on her part.
People
Maybe
watch
he was.
social media, and they say if a man come in and they put his phone down, face forward, yada yada yada, or if he always got to do this and always got to do that, so they wonder what he had. So now those things start to conjure up thoughts because she watching those people on TV do cheat. She watching those people and listening to all this mess. He can't say just her. And now those insecurities creep up and they gonna plant that seed, and that seed is gonna grow to where, oh, she left it unlocked. Let me take it to the bathroom. And he on the toilet scrolling through her stuff, trying to see if Cliff done said something from work. Like, come on, man. Yeah, and men play with it too. We all talk about the girl. Oh, that's your work husband. That's your work boo, because they got it, and you know they got it. Not everybody, not y'all on this panel.
Listen.
But they got it.
How does not matter. If we have been together for this long and you can't come to me with whatever insecurity is coming into your brain, why are we together? Just why? If you feel that you have to go behind my back and do something this malicious instead of saying, hey, Chris, we need to talk because I'm feeling a certain kind of way and I need to get this off of my chest. Why are we together? We just wasted 5 years because you still don't trust me, and you still don't have the security within me, the relationship, and yourself to come to me when you are feeling like this. So why are we together? We may as well part ways now. Half a decade gone, but half a decade of a lesson. It is what it is. Take the L.
How did she get into this space?
Yeah.
I think there were some small seeds of mistrust and different things that were planted and that were allowed to grow. Like Roland said, whether it was something on social media, where it was this or that, there was some conversation, there was something that had taken place earlier on, and it just grew. It grew to the point to where now I'm going through the phone. There wasn't a conversation that was had previously. There wasn't say, hey, I'm feeling like this, babe. Let's sit down, let's have a conversation about this. There wasn't, those things were not had for whatever reason, we don't know. But since those things were not had, then now those seeds grew to the point to where she felt compelled to go through that man's phone.
That's
Her
why
husband's phone.
your girlfriend got to respect your wife. You can't. No, I'm just joking. I'm a comedian, people. But serious business though. My sister said a relationship is not going to survive without trust, and the trust has to be groomed. So it shouldn't start out with "Give me all your passwords, give me this, that, and the other." That's mistrust. That means as long as you can see me, you trust me. You should be able to trust what I say when I'm not in front of you, when I'm behind your back, when I'm on social media, when I'm doing all these things. But what people do is they don't necessarily do that, and that's where those seeds are planted.
Okay, so I add a little more seasoning to the gumbo. What if there was an incident that took place, let's just say a year ago? I'm that far. An incident that took place and she still hadn't got over said incident. Now, does the how matter? I'm just asking for a friend in the back.
If we have we had the conversation about said incident and squashed it?
I mean, in my opinion, I want to say yes, but just entertain both sides. Entertain both sides.
Well, if it went undiscussed, if there was no conversation, then I could kind of understand her having that little thing in the back of her head saying, you need to go through this man's phone. He's doing this. But if we've talked about it, we've discussed it, and we've gotten over it, and you still not over it, that's a you thing, not me.
See, but I could understand the other side too, because I know people who have been in situations where the trust was taken for granted, and he said, "Oh, I'm done with that. I'm done with her," and yet said situation continued, or multiple other situations continued, or being in the military. I tell you, you done people have had a B knock wife, a A knock wife, a deployment wife, husband. You had relationship like my B knock was 4.5 months it's a school. And at the end of that school, you had people crying, breaking up, and flattening tires because their wives and husbands were coming down because people develop relationships and feelings and such. So now, after that's gone, that doesn't just go away. And certain patterns of behavior, if they're still there, it'll feed into that person's insecurities.
My bad. I had to do the translation in the chat for you.
I see.
Oh, yeah. BNOC stand for basic non-commissioned officer course. So yeah, I get that. But see, some people still think like there's almost like one and the same. Like if I had the conversation, we can move past the conversation.
Nope.
If we didn't have the conversation, that at some point in time will help us to move past the conversation.
I mean, that's yes and no, but people heal at different levels, and it takes people different amounts of time to heal. I do think that there should be a certain amount of time. I can't determine how long that takes for someone to heal, but I look at it like this, if I got a scar on my knee right now from 1993 from the AstroTurf, and I was playing football on a Sunday, and we was just playing just a pickup game, and I skinned my knee up. The scar is still there, but I don't feel the pain of the scar anymore, even though it's still there. So I think there's nothing wrong with sometimes thoughts are going to come to your head, but you have to decide what are you going to do with those thoughts when they come to your head. Are you going to shun them and say, nope, that's over what we dealt it, I'm not going back there? Or are you going to let those thoughts fester to whereas you end up going through people's phones and different things like that? So I do think it's a matter of it's okay to have those thoughts because just like anything else, it takes time to heal. I do think that there should be a limitation. Like I'm not waiting 10 years for you to get over something. Like that's ridiculous. Like it don't take that long. I don't think it takes that long. I may not be willing to wait that long. You know what I mean? You're gonna hold me hostage for one mistake that I did 10 years ago and you're still holding me hostage to that? Nah, bro.
I'm taking the
No.
L.
Taking the L.
I'm taking the L. Listen,
Yes.
if we have if we don't have the conversation, or we have the conversation and I'm still doing the same stuff, but she's still doing the same stuff, then okay, I get it. But if we have the conversation, we hash out the situation, it's squashed, and you still gonna try and hold it over my head, I'm leaving. You are not about to hold me hostage for something that we both said was squashed. You understand what I'm saying? That is not going to happen. I'm taking the L.
This have like zero tolerance policy.
I have a zero tolerance for this. If something happens and we discuss it and we hash it out and we're supposed to be moving forward, but it's still in the back of your head, like I'm doing it and I'm doing everything within my power to make sure that I'm showing you that it is not going to happen again. I'm changing my behavior because they say the best apology is changed behavior. I'm doing what I am supposed to do, and you still want to hold me hostage over a mistake that we already discussed, and I apologize for it, and I'm changing? Get out of here. No.
How long?
I refuse.
Approximately how long does it take someone to get? How long would you give your significant other to get over an incident?
Listen,
You've talked about it. It happened today, whatever. August 11th, 2023, it happened. Y'all hit the conversation today. Boom, boom, boom. What's the time frame that you have to say, you know what? At this point, you still ain't over it. File the paperwork.
Once you say, "Ooh, Lisa, you beat me to it." Once you say, once you say, "I forgive you, let's move on," from that point forward is dead, because you have acknowledged that you have forgiven me for said transgression, and I have forgiven myself for doing it and hurting you. Once that happens and you bring it up later, you lied to me in the first place because you never really forgave me. You understand what I'm saying? You probably just said that to get out of the conversation because you didn't want to talk anymore. So you lied to me. I'm out. Goodbye. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, you are not about to hold me hostage for something that we already hashed out. You gotta go. It's not a you gotta go thing. It's a I gotta go thing, because you are not about to disturb my peace by keeping something that I did and hanging it over my head just so you can feel like you got some sort of semblance of control. Like I'm going to get in line into what you think I should be in that movie you got playing in your head that only stars you. No, get out of here.
See, people think that you forgive and forget because it's always been said. That doesn't happen. And I wouldn't want you to forget. If you're going to forgive, you're going to forgive. But when people initially say, oh, I forgive you, 9 times out of 9, they're in the moment. They're not thinking clearly. They're thinking, oh, I want to work on a relationship. See, because the work is the forgiveness. The work is how you get over it. I don't want to forget because I want to remember we got past this. We worked together to grow a bond that, hey, we went through that, so nothing else can break us. So at the end of the day, I think when you that I forgive you part initially as just words of encouragement that we want to work it out. So, and I think that the person who is the perpetrator, I'll just say that they have more work to do because yes, they were in the wrong, and 9 times out of 10 they were sorry they got caught, and then they didn't just cut it off. They didn't just stop the behavior. They didn't just change, because you just can't change that right overnight. So it takes them time, but it also takes the other person time to mend that hurt, to see you walk in a different light. So now when they see you have different behavior and they can trust you now, they can trust you when you say you go into the store, you ain't stopping off at such and such, or you don't have certain things in your phone that make me question whether or not question myself for staying, question you for whatever you're doing.
I like the fact that you. Well, go ahead.
No, Roland, you said something. You said you want to remember, which is important. If you forgive and you really want to change the behavior, you're constantly remembering how you hurt that other person. You're constantly remembering how you never want to hurt that person like this ever again. So there's a choice that you have to make every time that this situation comes up. That's the work. You understand what I'm saying? Making the choice to change my behavior because I saw how I hurt you. Now, if I'm making the choice to change my behavior because I saw how what I did hurt you, and you still want to hold how I hurt you over my head, I am leaving you. Bottom line.
Told you. Like
So,
down the track. You're
so
fine.
So I like the fact that you brought up the notion of that we don't have the ability to forget. I want to say it like that, um, because I think we confuse the two all the time: forgiving and forgetting. It is impossible for you to forget. Period. Point blank. I don't care who you are. I don't care how hard you say you try. If you believe you forgot, only thing you have done is compartmentalize. You haven't forgotten. Only thing you need is something to remind you of that scenario, and poof, there it is again. So you can't forget, but you can forgive. I think a lot of times what we also don't realize is that an act changes the dynamics of a relationship moving forward. Anything that causes turbulence will change moving forward. The relationship has changed. Make no mistake about it. There's only a utopian concept that, oh, well, this thing was just a hurdle. We're right back, go back. There's no such thing to going back to normalcy. Well, when that pandemic happened, right? We kept saying, well, we need to get back to normalcy. Newsflash, there is no such thing as normalcy after that. There's a new norm that is created after getting through the pandemic. Pandemic still exists, by the way, but we have found a way to exist moving forward. The exact same thing, I believe, happens in the space of relationship. You find what normalcy, the new norm, looks like. The new norm is not you remembering the story that you had in your head about what relationship with that person looked like before that thing took place. Again, the concept is digital transgressions, right? So once that person find you sifting through their phone, trust me, you don't ever have to worry about that person putting their phone down around you ever again. That phone will follow that person to the moon and back. If they go into the bathroom, that phone is going with them. I guarantee they go into the mailbox, phone in their pocket, simply because now you have crossed their line. They have forgiven you, but that doesn't mean they're going to put their phone down around you again. So I want to make sure I say that simply because, look at this guy. I want to make Mr. Props over here. I want to make sure I say that because I think I think it's a real thing. Man, I think there was another highlighted question or statement, wasn't it? Cassandra's statement. What made the insecurity for Sophia to have her want to go through the phone? My phone is my phone. I have always been told if you look for it, you will find it. I don't disagree with that statement. Even if you look for it, you already have in your head that it exists someplace in there. So you got to find it. So even if, let's just say, would you say her name was Karen? That's what y'all said, Karen?
Hey,
Even if,
Yeah,
Tasha or
Karen.
something, man. You gotta say Tasha.
well, he said
Oh
Karen. I'm going to
no,
go with
Tamika.
Tamika. Okay, so
Change
we're
it
going
to
to go Tamika.
Tamika.
So even if Tamika just sent a text message saying, hey, I've been checking on you and see if it's okay. Who is this chick? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter what the statement is. The story is already in your head and you will make it up en route, even if it's just a simple thing saying hello. So we got to be careful with that. So I'm agreeing with you, Cassandra.
And I think one thing that, I don't know, it hadn't came out yet, but just like, sometimes people don't want, it's not that they don't want people to go through their phone. It just maybe certain conversations may not be for the other person. If me and coach are having a personal conversation and he's giving me certain personal information through the text, I may that may not be for my wife. It's nothing bad, but that's between me and coach. And coach has felt like, a thought that right now, I'm going through something personal and I want to share it with and and that's not for my wife to see. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you have those conversations, if you are going to allow those things in your relationship, I think you need to, I don't think there's anything wrong with going the extra step and having that conversation and be like, hey, look, everything in this phone is not necessary for you. You know what I'm saying? So you have access to it, but these are the boundaries in when it comes to going through the phone.
See, women will, and I know this from my experience, women will say, hey, I don't care if you answer my phone, so I care if you answer mine, because ain't nobody calling you on my doggone phone. So that's why I don't answer other people's phones. I'm like, ain't nobody on that phone for me. Ain't nobody call. See, a bunch of years, I guess now, dang. Before me and my wife got married, me and my sister was on the phone. We were talking. I don't know if it was speaker or my wife just got that $6 million man hearing. But my sister, she was like, yeah, you don't need to get married. To this day, she still hold on to that. She said we shouldn't have gotten married. It's been almost 20 years. God dog. See, and that's how people do. They hope. Now, if it's a text message and you see what's she saying good morning to you for, like, because it's daytime and somebody need. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm messy. That's petty, messy.
So he used to get slapped in the face with that message. Bow. All right. So I think we've got off to a very good start about this conversation as it relates to boundaries. I want to kind of dive into the first question here. And we may have already touched it a little bit, but I want to dive a little deeper because everybody has their own upbringing, their own style, their own perspective, so forth and so on. So in what ways might Ethan and Sophia's personal values about personal space influence the boundaries they set?
I think personal value that can stem from mother or father trauma. That can stem from trauma in previous relationships. That can stem from a lot of places. So their trauma may influence their values of that personal space. Say, well, ain't nobody ever gonna cheat on me. This person cheated on my mama and all this other stuff. So now what you're doing is you're putting that baggage on our relationship and it's bringing us down. And then you make me want to get out there like Chris and say, well, kick rocks. Because if we are working on us, that means we got to put the work in. That means no one else is in this relationship. We got to look each other in the eyes and say, hey, I'm not lying to you. You're not lying to me. Even if it's a hard truth, we still got to put it out there and not just be out here saying things just to make the other person happy.
It could be a mutual respect thing. I could see my mom and my dad say, I could see my mom and my dad not go through each other's phones like that, not log into each other's computers like that without at first being like, okay, mine is down. Can I use this? It could be a mutual respect thing. Like, don't touch my stuff unless you ask me to. And if you ask me to, I'm going to grant you access to it because I do not have anything to hide. You understand what I'm saying? It could be that.
I just kind of agree with what they saying. I mean, your values are going to determine a lot of times your values determine your behaviors. So if you have certain values when it comes to how you treat people's personal space, then that's how you're going to behave. So if when it comes to me, if I think I mentioned it before, there was a lady at work who gets really close to people when she talks to them, where her values, that's just how she talked, that's how they grow up. You know what I mean? So her personal values when it comes to personal space is different than mine is. I believe in respecting people, giving them enough room to be able to talk. And plus, I don't want to smell their breath and I don't want to get spit on. You know what I'm saying? So I think it comes to the same thing when it comes to the boundaries, confined in the relationship as well. It's like, what are your values? And when it comes to your personal space and what you want to share with other people and what are your boundaries and what are your values when it comes to the same thing. And so I think that it's very key that in this situation they definitely need to have a conversation, even look in the mirror about what are my values when it comes to my wife's or my husband's space, and even the boundaries that they set. Because just because someone set a boundary, good, bad, or different, we may not always like those boundaries.
See, that's
That's another whole conversation.
yeah, I know, right? So that I'm with you there. I believe when it comes down to personal values, these personal values were in existence before I met you, or should have been in existence before I met you. So ideally, I communicated those things to you. Of course, there might be some things that we missed in our younger age or whatever that looks like. However, en route, we still talk about them as well. So I have a thing, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not about to go in your purse. Even if you ask me, say, look in my purse and get this thing, just not going to do it. I will bring you your purse if you're busy, but I'm not about to stick my hand in your purse. It is just a thing that I have with myself. On the other hand, you ain't about to go in my wallet unless I ask you to. So I think the boundary that I create for myself, I automatically grant you that boundary without your input. I don't care if you tell me stick your hand in the purse. I ain't sticking my hand nowhere. I will bring you the purse. However, watch me because what you see me do is kind of like what I expect you to do as well. And I would tell you, I'm not going to go in your purse. I'm not going to go in your phone. You pay your phone bill. It's your phone. I don't want to go in your phone. I'm not even going to answer your phone. I don't care if your mama call you. You know what? Mom going to go to voicemail until you finish doing what you're doing. Just because I'm here, I'm not going to be your personal answering service. I'm just saying that's a matter of respect. Some people don't see it that way. That's their business. For me, I'm just telling you who I am. Not answering your phone, not gonna go on your purse, not gonna do any of those things. And so for people who don't understand that, they automatically need, oh, well, he's doing that because he has something to hide. No, you keep your negative self over there where you at, because here we believe in this thing called mutual respect. And mutual respect means that your personal space is your personal space. That's just what it is. Even when, let's just say, we're sharing living quarters. Yeah, I'm militant. Leave me alone. All right, so we're sharing living quarters, right? And so at that space, say for example, like you leave and go to work before I do. What happened? Chris had that. Chris eyes stretched like that just now. So
I'm
you,
reading
you
the private chat like a goofy. Never
oh,
mind.
okay.
Go
I done
ahead.
told you, man. You got to stay out in the private chats. Um, so you leave and go to work before I do. I'm not gonna go through your personal stuff, like your little personal hygiene stuff. I'm not going through that stuff. I'm not gonna do that. I know dudes who have though. I need to see what type of medication, bro. Like if y'all didn't, you see what I'm saying? Like I think that's crazy. So I think there has to be a certain point in time when you look at it and say, these are the boundaries that I have for myself, right? I will actually express those boundaries to you. And in retrospect, I need for you to understand I automatically grant those same boundaries to you that I have for myself.
I think that's key because a lot of times when this conversation's had or people talk about it, it's like only one person has to abide by these rules. It's like, all right, she can't go through my phone. It's like the other person can't go through the phone either. What's good for one is good for both parties. You know what I'm saying? My 2 cents.
2 cents.
But is there a limit? Not even a limit. So do you look anybody like when the significant other's phone rings? Do you look or do you just like totally disregard? Me, 9 times out of 10, I could care less. You know what I mean? Sometimes like the phone to be in there, like my wife's phone might be in the bedroom and she may have it on the bed or something, and she may be in the kitchen. I may be in the bed watching TV or something, and the phone will ring. I don't care nothing. She's like, babe, who is that? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's your mom or your sister, whoever it is, you know what I mean? But that's usually as far as it go. But like, I'm not intentionally looking over there once the phone ring. What about you guys?
So I'm with you. So I have a habit. I don't care what nobody say. I automatically put my phone face down for safety precautions because the glass is the most
That's
sensitive
why I
part of
do
the
it.
phone.
Yeah,
I
that's the
don't
only
really
reason I do it.
I don't really care what anybody else's opinion is what I do with my phone. You can voice it all day long, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna do it that way. But if you just happen to leave your phone up and I'm walking past it and it rings, like it's gonna catch my attention, right? It's not that I'm looking and say, oh, let me see. I'm not doing all that. But if it just, I'm like, oh, and I just happen to look and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But I'm not gonna bring it up. I'm not gonna like if it's your mom or something like that. Yeah, I say hey, your mama call. You know what I'm saying? Why you didn't answer the phone? That's your phone. I'm not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? You'll get to it when you get to it. Um, but if it's anybody else, I don't have two words about it. It is what it is. Now, if it's keep flashing in my face, you know what I'm saying? Tyrone from round the way. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. That's different. That's different. You know what I'm saying?
Tyrone.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah.
Something like that that just keeps flashing in my face. Like so, everybody live in a space where we have Bluetooth in our vehicles. You know what I'm saying? So if it keeps flashing in my face, that's something totally different. But that's like it'll come out as a question. You know what I'm saying? Not as a like who is that? You know what I'm saying? Not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like yo, like what's happening right now? You know what I'm saying? How is it that you know what I'm saying?
We
So I
together, but
think
Tyrone keep texting.
right. Like I don't and if I'm being honest, I don't mind
Yeah.
because I'm not that snoopy, if you will, using that term. But I don't mind. Just do it, whatever. I'm not giving you permission to be sneaky, but that's your own conscience you got to deal with. I'm secure. I guarantee it. I'm not that person. Now, if we're sitting and you're just kind of going back and forth, I'm like, okay, so what's really happening right now? Like we're together, but this is what you're doing. To me, that's disrespectful. And I have a concept. Men really, and I can only talk about mature men. I can't speak for everybody else. Men really only bring up things that has to do with respect.
Yeah.
A lot of truth in this statement.
Well,
Like with that question, my wife, her and coach were doing something, whatever, and I gave her the number. So then she called me back. She texted me or something talking about, What? I'm like, dang, didn't I give you the number already? Now, if they talking on the phone or he texts her this, that, and other, I trust her and I trust him. If I knew he was a shiftless dude, I still trust her. So at the end of the day, I'm like, when hey, you got his number? Call him. You need me to call. I'm not the go between nobody. I'm not gonna say, okay, I'm gonna keep people apart because I don't do that. So, but I got you.
Can I
Yeah, go ahead.
can I chime in real quick? And
Uh,
I'm that dude when I talk to him, which will be soon, by the way. I'm like, yeah, I talked to Olympia today, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna hide nothing from him. You know what I'm saying? Because really, that to me, that's my sister. So it's nothing to hide, no shifting over here, bro. I just want him to know. You know what I'm saying? Whether he knew or not.
Yeah, see, and my wife, she does a lot of. At first, she's a realtor. She just do different businesses. She got 2 phones, and she always on both of them. When it's family time, man, you better put them phones up. Period. I don't care what's going on. Put them phones up, slide it under the couch for all I don't care. Because if you over here talking about, well, it's 11:59 at night, and somebody getting, what you getting? You ain't getting nothing closed at 11:59. And my grandma said the only thing open past midnight is Denny's, back in the Denny, and McDonald's. No, she ain't say McDonald's. She said Legs.
Yeah, McDonald's. McDonald's.
She said Denny's. My grandma, Denny's and Legs.
Isn't it Burger King? Habit Joe? I'm sorry. All right, man. But great question, man. Thank you for bringing that to the table, brother. Let's kind of dive into this next question. What factors? I'm just gonna skip the topics. What factors should be discussed? What factors should be discussed? What factors? Thank you. What factors should be discussed when it comes to social media?
I don't know.
Yes, you do, because you're gonna have to have this conversation one day. So spit it out, brother.
I think if you holding yourself in the upright manner, you can joke, you can play, you can do whatever. Because I'm a jovial person. I like to joke. I'm comical. I try to be, at least to me. And I'm not about to govern myself from being me. Now, if I'm out here trying to flirt, if I'm out here trying to hook up and stuff, that's different. That shouldn't be done. But if I'm just being me and people, why they laughing at your jokes? Why they, you're like, why you not? It's like, you got free reign to be you. Because if I married a utensil, my fault.
Man, you was
Married
on
a
one tonight.
spoon.
That's all I'm saying.
A spoon. Married a spoon.
I don't know, man, because the simplest things can be blown up to something so gigantic on social media. I mean, as long as you are not doing anything that's disrespecting the relationship, like thirst trapping or posting thirst traps, or you understand what I'm saying, or putting our business on social media when it's only to be discussed between us, like stuff like that. But that's stuff that should come with the territory. Like, you're a grown up, you should know better. Why are we having a conversation about social media? You understand what I'm saying?
Because a lot of people get in trouble over it. And I get it. I'm not one of those people who get in trouble over social media. I'm the type of person is, you don't blame social media, you blame the person behind it. That's how I believe. So I'm with you guys. If I married a tool, then I get tool results.
Kitchen shears.
Kitchen shears. If I marry some kitchen shears, I get kitchen shear results. That don't sound as nice.
See, that's why, I'm buttoned up to here.
Yeah, because you don't want to.
Thirst trapping and stuff, showing my white hair on my chest.
Yeah, all your taco meat hanging all out.
Dad bod and stuff. I'm out here trying to be sexy. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's a time and place for it, and and I think if there is something new that comes up, I think you have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? Because there may be some new things that come up that you maybe didn't expect or that may not have been there previously. You know what I mean? So, I think you can talk about all of it, but I think it comes down to if you chose the right person, you shouldn't have to have a very detailed conversation. But based off the question, you do need to talk about how are we going to address on social media, what business we're going to talk about on social media, different things like that. So I do think that based off this question, those are definitely two key things you need to talk about. Your business that you're going to put out there and how you're going to dress, at least to me.
See, I don't think that social media presents a new person. I think social media is like alcohol, right? I think it erases all inhibitions because you're behind the screen, and I hopefully you probably don't get to see whatever, right? I think social media actually revealed the thing that you did not know. And it also helps you to understand the person that when you meet face to face, it may help you to understand the other side of that person, also like an alter ego type deal. Um, so I think like Uncle Junior said, I think when it comes down to social media, we have to discuss these things. We have to discuss like what does social media really mean? Like what are we going to use it for? Are we going to use it to highlight the details of our life? Are we going to be taking pictures of us in the house? And no, no, you're not. We're not taking pictures of us showing everybody the inside of our house. We're not going to go outside and take pictures in front of the house like it's some type of highlight reel. I think that's the like that blows my mind. Like for real, like nobody really cares what your house looked like on the outside. If I know you, I know you. And here's the other side to it. If I don't know you like that, I probably don't want to know you like that. I think too many times in the social media space, I think people tend to over glamorize themselves because social media is not going to tell you no. And then at the end of the day, when people get in the chats and start saying whatever it is they want to say, you can go in there and selectively delete somebody's message because you feel more important than what you really are. So I think that's the thing for me when it comes to social media. We need to have these conversations like, how are we going to show up as a family? How are we going to show up as a couple? Like, what is the information we're going to put out there? Are we going to check in every place we go? No, that's dangerous. Like people like in the world that we live in, people will actually stalk you by doing that. Like that's again and I'm not gonna lie, earlier, long time ago, I may have checked in at Dallas Airport. You know, I was flying. I wasn't worried about nobody coming to get me out of Dallas Airport though, because I'm leaving shortly. So it's like, it is what it is. No, definitely not. But I think those are the things that we have to discuss in detail. Why? Because if we got kids, them kids need to understand the exact same thing. Don't be taking pictures of the house. Definitely don't take pictures of the house number outside. Don't be trying to just glamour photo and all kind of stuff, in front of the cars and things like that, because you're exposing certain things about your life that isn't somebody else's business. So that's just my perspective when it comes down to the conversation that we have to have as a family, as a couple, or whatever that looks like when it comes to social media.
And I think image plays a part in it too. Your image and your brand. You know what I mean? What types of stuff you're going to repost. You know what I mean? Like, there were a lot of people heard conversations from people at work talking about how, especially like during the pandemic and during the election and stuff like that, there was opposition in people's family because family members were posting, certain things, certain red things, certain people posting certain blue things, certain, Trump and different things, and it was causing tension. So, and people were getting canceled in people's family because they have somebody in their family, they post on about Trump. Oh, people were choosing sides and different things like that. So that's why I think it's important to have some of these conversations. Like, who are we? Like Coach said, who are we as a family? How are we going to display ourselves as a family or as an image to the world on social media? Are we going to post personal pics and stuff? I know some people who only use it for business. So I do think that, got to have some of these conversations, and can't always just expect people to just abide by certain things. I also do think, like we said, before I meet you, what are you posting? You know what I mean? So I think that's important too.
I think that when it comes to social media and your posting, you should consider one how you look to other people, but some people don't even care. And I think that some people post a lot of things and a lot of messages for attention. And sometimes they don't know, supposedly, that, oh, you doing this, woe is me. You're doing that for attention. Because you're saying, like, I need $40 for the rent. It's like, stop. Like, But you know, people post things just for attention, just for somebody to say, "Oh, it's gonna be all right," and all that other stuff. You know, and I hate those things because me, I go on there to try to inspire, try to make people laugh, or put some knowledge out there. I will rarely have anything but even cuss words on there. If they cussing, it's gonna be a point to the cussing. It's gonna be a point to them saying these words, something to listen to, not just somebody out here being vulgar. That's why I monitor my page like that, where I don't want you to just come on there and there's some derogatory behavior and all this other stuff.
Yeah, stop telling me you had a bad day at work.
Yeah, I think people post stuff for attention all the time. They post stuff like "pray for me" and that's it. I was like, you because you want people to engage with you and ask you what's going on, sis, or what's going on, bruh. You know what I mean? Like I see those posts especially in the morning.
Yeah.
Attention is the new currency. Attention and validation is the new currency.
That's it.
I'm starting to see that now.
That's it. I'm
'Cause I
just
know
being
my
honest.
children,
Don't tell me you had a bad day at work. I don't care.
you know,
So
my
did a whole
wife,
bunch of other people.
Exactly.
like, cause I got a lot of flack when I shave my beard. You know, it's like, oh, you're just trying to get some attention. You know, yeah, sometimes I need it, but
I
yeah,
can't
dang,
do it for me.
yeah,
I
I
can't
just
shave
No.
my
sometimes,
beard.
sometimes I've always been in the good way. I've always been a fool, man.
Always.
So yeah, so it's like I'm not gonna. I could be at a funeral and I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna be talking about the skin. I'm gonna be talking about whether or not they get them ballerina shoes on under their stuff. I'm
See,
tripping.
yeah, we talk
The
about that
toe.
after the show
The
because I
toe.
got something for that.
The toes over his heel. I'm sorry. All right, next. My bad,
Wind it
man.
up.
Right. The next
Hey, bud.
question. The next question is: what are some common communication barriers when it comes to establishing boundaries? Now, I want you guys to kind of like entertain all of it. Like when you go to share your boundaries, what are some of the things that you could possibly run into, so forth and so on? All things will go.
First thing, somebody gonna get in their feelings
Emotion.
because they may not see it. So I know we're gonna go into that more, but I just want to be the first one to jump out there and say that. First thing you're gonna do is if somebody getting their feelings, it's sometimes hard to have a conversation.
Now, what you
Now,
mean?
do-
Since you said you know we gonna get into it, let's get into it. What you mean getting their feelings?
like we said, tears are fine, tears are cool, all that. But at the end of the day, we still got to have the conversation. If we can't have it now, that's fine. Say, hey, let's take a break and we'll come back to it later. But sometimes people don't feel comfortable having a conversation because, let's say, for instance, things are going great in the marriage or in the relationship right now. They've been going good for a month, 2 months, 3 months. You like, man, everything going good. I don't want to have this conversation because you know that the conversation could potentially cause a rift in the dynamics of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? And it may take somebody some time to get over the information that's been said during the conversation. So I think one of the communication barriers can be not having the conversation for fear of the feelings that's going to be involved and the potential of not even getting a solution through the conversation.
Okay, so you're saying the emotional side is on the part that's the person who wants to share their boundaries, but they don't share their boundaries because of the potential emotional response of the other party.
The emotional response exactly of the other
Okay,
party. Yep.
gotcha. I
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
Wheels are turning.
Yeah, because when it comes to other people talking, I'm not, when it comes to communication, I don't deal with people when they get here. If you are here, I'm not talking. So I'm shutting down and I'm gonna tell you I'm shutting down the conversation over because now you done elevated it here and you want to get hyper and you want to get all, I don't do all that and clapping hands and all that head bull crap. I don't do it. I'm
I
gonna sit up there,
promise
okay.
you, boo boo.
I hate all that bull crap. It just burns me up and it's gonna irritate me. And I'm not gonna have a smile on my face, and then I'm gonna be frustrated. So instead of frustrating me, we just created a barrier. When then they get mad when I start talking to them like a kid, because then I'm gonna say, hey, when you fix yourself, you can come back and holler at me. Until then, go on somewhere else.
So you're saying you're the type of person that's shut down when they become overly emotional.
all day.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Hmm.
Gang star. Guru's what they call them.
I think one of the main barriers is being afraid of taking a loss because you have a boundary.
Hmm.
That's some
Huge,
things
huge.
that, yeah, some people are
Speak
so
on that one.
afraid. Some people are so afraid of losing the person that they with that they won't communicate if something is really bothering them. They'll just tolerate them. And we have been taught that we are supposed to accept abuse.
Who is we, sir?
The men with melanin in their skin. We have been taught that if we cannot take whatever the woman that is in front of us wants to dish out to us, then we are weak. We are not real men. So, communicating a boundary and saying these are the things that I will and won't tolerate could cause the person to leave because that lets them know that they just can't do whatever they want to and be with you at the same time. And it's not just a man woman, it's not just a man and woman dynamic. Family, job, friends, all of that. I have a boundary. These are things that I will not tolerate. You keep pushing that boundary, I'm gonna push you out my life.
I like it. I like it. So I'm gonna inject another one. I think when it comes down to, and it's not just communicating the boundary, it is also respecting the boundary for me. Once a boundary has been communicated, there has to be a level of respect for the boundary that's communicated. Because if you express your boundary, you also have to protect your boundary. But at some point, when you recognize that the person is constantly overriding your boundary, then at some point we have to analyze and come to the conclusion that this person, we didn't had this conversation about three, four, 5 times. I have to conclude that this person probably just don't respect my boundary. So I kind of want to throw that on the table as well because I also believe that that is a communication barrier. It's not just that it's not just me expressing it because let's just say I'm secure enough in me to express it, but now the other side, the biggest misconception of communication is assuming that it actually happened, right? And the only way that you can tell that communication is actually happening is through the behavior of the other person. So if the other person does not respect the boundary, there was a communication break someplace. I know I articulated it in the midst of the conversation. You agreed that you understand the boundary and you respect the boundary, and that actually made sense. So where's the disconnect between here and the behavior that actually happens? So I would say that's also a communication barrier. No, nothing. All right, bring Nick D's conversation as her statement to the table because I like it. People not being completely transparent for fear of rejection.
Yeah. They send the human resources representative instead of the dude from the mailroom who's really the dude that they are.
I
What
think
Bernie
What?
that's
Mac say? What Bernie Mac say? Boy, be yourself. If people don't like you after you being yourself, F them.
Up
up
against the
against the wall,
Up against the wall.
handcuffs on, crazy glue on the lips.
Wow. But see, I think when it comes down to this one, and I know that I want to be careful. This is my one sexist statement for tonight. I know that a lot of men do this because ideally they encounter a young lady that they really like, and so, in order to keep her, they believe that they have to make it extremely easy for her. So they don't necessarily articulate their boundaries and also don't realize that the lack of expression of boundaries is makes it more difficult for the relationship. It's like a train going down the tracks, but the tracks don't exist. So it's actually trying to stay on the rail on the wooden slabs that go sideways, and it can't. So the rails must exist because the rails are the boundaries. So that's kind of like my perspective when it comes down to fear of rejection. And I know that men struggle with this a lot. Well, used to. I don't know if they still do.
I think women may struggle with this also because of how he may take it, because it may be a situation where men be wanting to know everything. When a woman has transgressed, slept with somebody else, the man say he want to know everything. And they be picking it, men, some people do, and they be picking in pride. Did you do this? And now you want to know the whole detail. If you want a video, you should have told her to make a video. You shouldn't be once she say it's done, it's done. You don't need to know the details like that, because at the end of the day, either you're gonna forgive her or you're not. Now you just want to find out the level of the situation was, instead of saying, okay, I got it, she did this, and you can conjure up in your mind however far you want to go. But that's why most men, if she does whatever, he can't take it. So I'm out the door. Why I'm gonna put myself through this stress and all this when I can just say bye, and you want to do that, so go on and do it.
Yeah, but this is a deeper issue, though. You know, this is the end result of something else that's deeper that's going on. Like, if you're not completely transparent because you fear rejected, then what's going on that's causing you to fear the rejection in the first place? So I do think that this is something, like Coach said, and Roland, I mean, that we tend to see this a lot in men. You know what I mean? They are scared because there's always that fear of rejection, until some point. I mean, dudes, we get rejected all the time. You know what I
Can I be
mean?
transparent right
Well,
now?
Yeah, be transparent.
you haven't been all day?
No,
Oh, my bad.
I'm
Go
talking
ahead.
about me now. I was in a situation where I was the person who transgressed. Now, when getting asked these questions, well, how many times? And I'm thinking in my mind, well, how many times can she actually know about? So I don't want to, boom, blow it out the water, because I could have said, boom, just, you sank my battleship. Nope, I'm giving you this little speedboat, and you're going to be happy with that. Because if I give you everything, all of the little details of it, now it's like it seems, oh, this was a relationship. So now
Yeah.
it's more I have to deal with. So yeah, it was the fear of rejection, the fear of, oh, I'm about to actually lose. If I give her all this, I'm gonna lose.
Yeah, and I think it causes. I don't think that too much details is important going forward either. People say, well, the more you know, the further you grow. But in certain situations, more information and details is not as important. Like, say, for instance, you was transgressing out at Walmart in the neighborhood. I'm just saying. So now every time y'all go to Walmart, your old lady thinking, well, is this where y'all was at? Or now you can't go to that Walmart no more because it's always bringing up those thoughts and stuff. So that's why I think that all of those details are not as important. It's bad enough you did it, but I think there should be a limit to as far as how much details and sharing of information that you should do. Cheat on me, take it to your grave. Don't be like, oh, I'm sorry. Nope, take it to your grave. Do not bring it up. I do not want to know about it. Because now I'm forced to have to make a decision. And I just don't. I'd
You're
rather just
forced
not
to
know.
have to decide if you want to stay with this woman or if you want to take a loss. If you want to
Absolutely.
take the L.
Absolutely.
Can we be
I
honest?
am not
That's a
afraid of
real
taking.
decision.
Can we be honest
Yes.
though?
Yeah.
I think the decision was made before the conversation was had. I
Yeah.
think I think the reason why you're having the conversation is to see whether or not the person still respects you enough to stay in the
Mm.
situation. Because why have the conversation if you had already decided I'm gonna leave? You understand what I'm saying? So I think the
Mhm.
decision is made at the point of conversation. And I can't speak for nobody else. For me, again, peace is the most important thing. So if my mind is made up, like let's just say this act is a showstopper for me, which I think is the craziest thing that I ever hear people say, right? If this act is a showstopper for me, there's no need to have a conversation. When you come home, I'm packing. So that's my point. So why have the conversation if the decision was already made prematurely? Why put the person on trial if you're going to just leave anyway? That's
I
just my
agree.
thoughts. So
Yeah,
go
I
And
ahead, go
that's
ahead.
definitely
why I
agree.
say immature men, immature women think to where they got to know all this stuff. I feel like this. I'm gonna give you everything up front. I'm gonna let you make your decision. I'm not going back and forth with all this. You got it. There you go. That's how mature I am at this point in my life. Now, before, I'm gonna be slipping and sliding, lying, and doing all these things before because I wanted to have my cake and eat it too, as they used to say.
So, in the context of, let's just keep that scenario and look at Michelle Ray's statement. Because if you are the transgressor, right? And let's just be honest, as long as you transgress in, you're good. But when you get caught transgressing, now it's like, oh man, now you're getting to feel the other person's feelings, right? Because they're gonna project. That's just it. You're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to deal with this roller coaster just a little bit, right? At what point do you allow the other person to learn to balance their own feelings and emotions? Because I think Chris said 10 years is too much. I agree. Like, it happened today. Do we go through the conversation a week, 2 weeks, a month? I'm just curious.
I think that if it happened today and ended today, then you can start to see the growth, the maturity, the moving forward. But if it happened today and it's just because he got caught and you gonna steal his behaviors ain't changed. He ain't changed.
You know, I do not think that you can put a time period on somebody else's feelings. Like, I don't. However, you could put a time period on how long you're gonna let this person make you miserable because you did something wrong and you apologized. So I think it's on you. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and I'm changing my behavior and I'm showing you that this one thing that I did is never going to happen again because I saw how much it hurt you and you still want to throw it up in my face every time you get mad and try to make me feel like I'm being held prisoner for a decision that we already talked about. Goodbye. You're not about to control me. You need a level 2 when dealing with me. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have about listen, I said this before, man. I don't have any problem taking the L. I don't care about your tears. I don't care about your temper tantrum that you gonna throw. I don't care about the names you gonna call me. I don't care about any of that. You're not about to hold me hostage for something that we already discussed. You
Okay,
understand what I'm
let, let
saying?
me let me go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna give you a scenario based off what Coach said. All right, so Chris transgressed. All right, 5 years into the marriage, Chris transgresses. No, let's take you out of it. There's a transgression that happens, right? And after the man transgresses or cheats or whatever, right? The woman's like, you know what? I really ain't trying to, get busy with you no more right now. All right. So how long does Chris wait before he like, look, it's over with. We're done. It's behind us. But right now, I'm not feeling sexually attracted to you because I know last week where you was at and who you was with. And right now, I'm not ready to go that place with you in our relationship. How long do you not allow, but how long do you let that be before it becomes an issue?
You can't ask me that. You would have to
I'm
ask. You would have
asking.
to ask somebody else. Because I say it all the time. Vagina is important, but there's nothing special about it. If she's not given to me, I'm just going to no longer want it and take that energy and to put it in something else. You're not about to use
but
that as a weapon against me.
but you're the
Sorry.
one who cheated.
So what?
She decided to forgive you and stay with you in the relationship. But
Right.
now that's part of maybe who she is, or maybe because every time she lays down with you, even though she's forgiving you, she may be visualizing you with this other woman now.
That's a
So
her
do you
problem.
allow for some grace for her? That's her problem.
I like I said, man, I give everybody grace. I say that.
Mm-hmm.
I already know what time it is. If I'm doing something wrong and if I do something that deep, I already know what
Mm-hmm.
time it is. I'm just not gonna want it anymore. I know I'm not gonna get it anyway. If she's not giving it to me, I'm just not going to want it. You understand what I'm saying? There's only
Mm-hmm.
so long that she can go without trying to use her weapon to try to bring me down to her level. And that's the only weapon that she would have. You understand what I'm saying? So it is what it is. We just not having sex right now. Okay. This will, and to keep it real, this will really let me know if I'm supposed to be with her, because sex is no longer a part of the equation. You can't use your weapon against me, and I don't want your weapon. Now what? Let's figure out us. You understand what I'm saying? That's why you can't ask me that. I've already surpassed the whole. I, I've already surpassed that. To me, that's low level. That's why it's the bottom chakra. That's low level to me. You understand what I'm saying? Bring me something else. And if that's all, if that's the only weapon that you have against me when I do this, and you're trying to dangle that in front of my nose like it's a carrot, I'm just not gonna want the carrot. Okay. What else? What's your next level? You need a level 2 when dealing with me. How many times do I have to say that?
I
I,
just
I
put it out there because I know that, that's one of the things that tends to happen, what I mean, after something like that. There's a period to whereas usually certain people they don't want to be intimate for a certain amount of time. So I was
see.
just asking.
Yeah, see, I get what he is saying, because I think too many times we get into to the space of punishing another person. When you get into the space of punishing another person, you're just as wrong, if not more wrong, because you don't have the authority to punish another person. I don't care if you're in a relationship with that person or not. Punishment is not yours to do. So once it get to the point of punishing, now we've crossed the line. I think that kind of goes after what Lisa's comment is at Chris, right? You do not punish. You do not take a hard stance and say, okay, I got caught up, get over it. You know what I'm saying? But then by that same token, if I put forth the energy and efforts to have the conversation, but yet you want to keep recycling, and I can look at you and see that you're intentionally recycling thought, recycling emotion, and choosing to stay in that space. At some point I have to recognize that you're choosing to stay there, and you're projecting that choice on me and holding me hostage to your inability to manage your own emotions. Again, it's not that I didn't have the conversation with you, it's not that I did not want to help you or help us. I'm gonna say it that way, help us move to a better space. But at some point, and I know this to be the case because I've witnessed it happen in some people, at some point, they will constantly recycle. And you talk to them and try to help them harmonize with that. And then they'll be like, but, and go right back. You know what I'm saying? And it's like at that point, I'll be completely honest with you. I have literally told people, and I hate to say it, I never had to turn down a guy. It's always been a woman. Then I had to tell her I can't help you because as a coach, we're looking to move forward. But you want to talk about his transgressions. I can't. Like if you want to do better, it's not going to do you any good to stay there and choose to talk about it over and over and over again. At some point you have to think future forward. What does the future look like for you? What does, you know what I'm saying? Like what does, if I was a queen for a day, if I was a king for a day, if I could choose what my outlook would be, what my day would be like, what my life would be like, let's have those discussions. But at the end of the day, to kind of go back and recycle this and recycle that and recycle this and recycle that, you are choosing to stay in a negative headspace. And as long as you choose to stay in a negative headspace, you will not get over that situation. Go ahead, bro.
See. Miss Lisa, yes, it is a weapon. And here's why. We know that we as men like to do it a lot, or at least have the option to do it a lot. And if you think that you are going to take, and that's another thing that I say before, like I don't mind not doing it, but I don't like can't doing it. You are not about to put a cap on what I want, but still think you are going to get everything out of me that you want. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're not putting a cap on my time. We're not putting a cap on my resources. We're not putting a cap on my money. We're not putting a cap on any of those other things. But you get to take what I want away from me and still get what you want. Even after we've had this conversation, I'm just not going to want it anymore. That's a weapon that you were using. You are weaponizing the thing that I want against me to try to make me feel bad and bring me down to your level. No, absolutely not.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think we kind of like we kind of dove on this one a lot. Again, it's the emotions. That's the point I wanted to get at. So having struggling trying to manage your emotions can be a barrier when it comes down to talking about boundaries, like what Uncle Junior talked about previously in the beginning. So that being said, this takes us to our bittersweet moment for the evening, and it takes us into our final thoughts where these gentlemen actually shared their perspective in moving forward. So with that being said, we're going to start with the youngest gun on the panel, Brother Chris.
Oh, wow. Started with me. Okay. Well, my final thought is the same thought that I had last week. Having boundaries is okay. Having boundaries teaches other people how to treat you. And having respect for yourself to have those boundaries will also show them how to treat you too. We have to get to a point where we are not afraid to stand in those boundaries and we are not afraid to take a loss. Sometimes it is what it is. If that person doesn't respect the relationship enough to respect the boundary, then they don't need to be a part of the relationship. Boundaries are necessary in personal relationships. That's my final thought.
Boundaries in personal relationships. I wrote down 3 boundaries that I think are key for most personal relationships. The first one is respect for personal space and time. I think we have to set boundaries and limits on our time and on our personal space. I have something set up in my life at 10 from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. No one gets through except for about 5 or 6 very important people to my and that are in my life. So I think having respect and making sure that people adhere to your boundaries are important as well. So the first one is respect and personal space and time. The second one is communication and honesty. And not just communication, but effective communication. Is what you're saying getting put across? And is it being heard? And are you guys working together in that relationship when it comes to the communication? And the honesty and transparency as well. If there's no honesty and the communication is not there, then that's going to start breeding mistrust and different things like that. And then the last thing is the emotional and mental well-being of yourself. All of these things are important because if you don't have good mindset and personal emotional a certain emotional sense about yourself or a certain amount of mental well-being, then it can directly affect a lot of choices and other things in a negative way in your life. So at the end of the day, those 3 things that I think are good for people to have in their personal relationships are respect for personal space and time, communication and honesty, and lastly, emotional and mental well-being.
Man, them brothers took all my answers. But I think that when it comes to boundaries, boundaries has to be established on truth, and you can't start to establish new boundaries all of a sudden after transgressions have been made. So when you are establishing everything, you got to be open and honest from the get go, so that at the end of the day, you can say, "Hey, I gave you everything. I gave you eh, the truth and honesty. Those are my boundaries. So if you go beyond this, you know it was disrespect. If you go beyond that, you knew I wouldn't like it. And if I do it the same fashion because I didn't respect you enough to give it to you up front to let you know the things that would offend me, the things that I wouldn't like, the do's and the don'ts. I'm not trying to be controlling. You should be yourself. Don't ever try to control another. I always tell my daughters, I tell my son, hey, don't let anybody control you with whether it be with their bodies, with their whatever it is. Don't let another person control you to do what they want you to do. If you don't want to do it, fine. But at the end of the day, you got to respect one another. And you respect one another not by just doing what they want, because you have to want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're gonna find a way to do what you don't want to, what they don't want you to do. So at the end of the day, just be respectful, respectable, and honest with one another, and things should work out. And if they didn't, and you're working through some things, make sure you're talking, you communicate, not elevated, and not just being sarcastic in your conversation, but make sure that when you are discussing everything, you don't hide little things just in case her feelings or his feelings may be in play. You got to give it up, give it all.
Man, this was a great conversation, and I greatly appreciate what these brothers had to offer. I would just add to what they're saying very briefly. Boundaries is probably one of the most important things that you can actually discuss in the beginning of the relationship. And trust me, you won't be able to discuss every boundary that exists. You need to talk about boundaries when it comes down to how we're going to move in space. What does it look like when I take you around my parents? What does it look like when I go around your parents? Hopefully, we have, like I said before, we have established boundaries, and the boundaries that I share with you, we automatically give it to the other person without measure. Again, don't set a boundary that you're not willing to automatically and put in place for the other person. Like I said before, boundaries are like fences, right? Boundaries keep things out for strangers. But when you're in a relationship, you actually defend your partner's boundaries. I think that's how it should work. I think that's the best way it works because that makes your partner feel valued. So again, talk about boundaries and don't just talk about it one time and then move on to another, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years down the road and assume those same boundaries look the exact same way. No, you've changed, you've grown, y'all evolved as a couple. So we got to come back to the table to discuss what the boundaries look like now. When you first got together, you had a two-bedroom house, one bathroom, 1,200 square feet. 10, 15 years down the road, you got a four-bedroom house, four-bedroom house, three-bathroom, 4,500 square feet. This is another layer of conversation that needs to happen. What are we going to do when family members come to town? Are we just going to automatically have them stay here? Or are we going to say they got to go to the hotel? If we're going to have that discussion, like who goes to the hotel, who comes to the house? These are conversations that need to be had. So as you start unpacking this thing called boundaries, you see that boundaries are it is a very extensive list that we go through. Don't make any mistake and assume that another person should automatically understand boundaries when it comes to you. I kept asking this question last week, right? So, given the context of a common mature person, they should automatically know. Don't assume that. Don't make that assumption. Don't put yourself in that position to where you believe the other person should automatically know because they're a decent human being. We're human. Remember that. We make mistakes. Mistakes is one thing, but a decision is really what it is. So we got to learn to stop calling things a mistake and actually understand it was a decision that I made to violate your boundary and then repent to you when I crossed that line. That's the thing that helps us to get back into harmony. Boundaries create the harmonious relationship that we want to exist in when we first met. But if we fail to create those boundaries, we lose harmony quick after the honeymoon is over. So, that being said, we greatly appreciate you guys. I put a message in the chat, man, because I want you guys to understand we value you so much. I value these gentlemen on this panel. One of them missing tonight, and I value him as well. I have to tell him tomorrow during Bible study. I value these gentlemen. I want them to understand that. So I say that in front of everybody. They add such, just an enormous amount of quality during these conversations. You guys add value in the chat. So we look forward to seeing your insights as always when we come here on Friday night. So again, next week, same time, same channel, Hearts for Men podcast. You guys have an awesome rest of your evening and a phenomenal weekend.